Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to the Northman Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Gary, and I'm bringing back my good friend AJ today. And we're going to be talking about the core value of courage. I almost forgot that one
Yeah.
already. Courage is the strength of mind to carry on in spite of danger or hardship. AJ, how you doing today, bud?
Doing good, brother. How you doing?
I am very well.
Well,
So, what would you change? This is a question for you, AJ, and for all the listeners. What would you change in your life if you stopped waiting to feel fearless and started moving forward while you were still afraid? What does
hmm,
that look like to you?
you know, there's still a lot of things, I guess, that exist in my life that I wouldn't mind pushing through. Though I know certain things. I kind of sit on the cusp of whether or not is it a fear that that's realistic when it
Okay.
comes to like my medical situations, or is it just fear because of the surgeries and stuff like that? But I think if there's one thing that I could change today, if there was no fear involved, I would be more in control of my outside life in a public setting because that's gone away so much since my injury.
So, are you saying that you live in fear of being outside?
Not so much in being in fear of being outside, but the fear of actually driving, not having problems with my leg, or if like walking. I love to walk. I love to be able to hike. That's a big thing, and whether or not it's the arm that ends up affecting me or the leg that affects me, I guess it's just a lot of fear that something else could go wrong medically. But I need to get past some of those fears,
Okay.
like without a doubt. The leg is still kind of on the mend,
Mhm.
which is, that's I've kind of gotta just let that heal. But yeah, so far as the arm, I think I've got my pain under much better control. So it's time to stop being so afraid
Okay.
of going out there and creating more pain.
Okay. So, courage actually requires fear.
Yeah.
If there's nothing at stake, then courage is not necessary. If you were not afraid
Mhm.
of something, then you wouldn't need courage. You would just do it. Going to the
Yeah.
grocery store, nothing, no
Yeah.
problem. I got that, no problem. But if you have no money, then going to the grocery store, is fear of the credit card getting declined or the check bouncing.
Right.
So that
Right.
requires courage. If
Right.
that makes sense, I don't know. That's kind of lame, I
Yeah.
guess. But
No,
without
but
fear,
absolutely.
there's no courage.
Yeah. No, I agree. I honestly, I think that even in the aspect of not just fear, without pain, you
Hmm.
know, pain is courage. Having having the ability to push yourself to work through pain, that is courage. Pushing yourself to keep going and not fearing what the outcome is going to be, because if you sit around in fear, then you're never going to live.
Right. Absolutely. So pain is not courage. I don't think pain is courage, but pain and fear, they kind of live in the same spot. Where
Yeah.
pain might be required to be courageous,
Yeah.
but that would be the fear, and I can see that because I'm not in pain at the moment, but I've been in pain, and I guess it's a fear that it'll be permanent or it'll get worse. So yeah, I can see how fear and pain could live in the same place.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean, courage to me is like, it's like charging into the fight, right? Other times it is saying, I need help. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Or I'm not okay. Any
mhm,
of those circumstances, you've got to have courage in order
yes,
to live a fulfilled life like that. And a lot of people think that those things are, especially men, they think that having courage is almost like making them weak. It's weak to say that I'm not okay or I'm
mhm,
sorry or I need help. No, that is beyond courageous and it's beyond masculine, but it
mhm,
is a mature, healthy masculinity.
yes, agreed 100%. So also, you think about it, being like in a relationship or being a father, there is a lot of fear and pain that comes with it as far as, you're gonna screw up. as being the perfect husband or boyfriend, you are going to screw up. Being the perfect father, there's no such thing. You will screw up. So there's that fear, but it's also, like you just said, recognizing when it's too much. When do
Yeah.
you need help? When do you ask for this? And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, no,
So,
not at all. Because there's a difference, uh, between just recklessness and courage, and there's a difference between, it just goes back to what many of our conversations have been about masculinity, and
mhm,
what real masculinity actually comes down to,
sure.
without a
Yeah.
doubt. And it's very sad to me that so many men think that, having the courage to actually say that you need help, or having the courage to admit that you are wrong,
Mhm.
or having the courage to admit that, you need another man to be there in your life, because that's what brotherhood is. And that is one of the most valuable, important things in a man's life.
Yep.
It's so sad because so many men think that that's a bad thing.
Yeah, and you said it's a sad thing, but it's a normal thing, in all honesty. Like, that's how I was raised. I'm pretty sure that's how
Yeah.
you were raised, and half the guys in our men's group were raised that way. And yeah, it's sad, but it's also liberating to know that we are a select few
Yeah.
that are okay asking for that help, that are okay offering that help, and that are okay knowing what too much is. We're okay admitting
Yeah.
that we're wrong. We're okay with setting a boundary. We are okay realizing that we are in an unhealthy situation. 'Cause
Agreed.
there have been times in my life where I know I've been in relationships that are unhealthy, and I'm like, "Well, I'll give it one more day or one more week. It'll work itself out," you know? And it never does. Not without setting a boundary or saying I need help or figuring something out. You can't just sit there in the storm and wait for that to pass, because that storm doesn't pass.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes having the courage to say that this marriage just isn't going to work. This
Mhm.
relationship is just not going to work. And having the courage to accept that and not allow defeat to set in those moments. And that's
Absolutely.
why, like you said, we are a select few with our brotherhood. And it's amazing because I think most of us would agree, who knows where we would be without the brotherhood, without having one another.
Mm, yeah,
Where would you fall into? Who would hold you accountable? Who would actually hold you accountable? Not the guys that you go out and have beers with on the weekends because they just got your back.
right?
They're not going to hold you accountable to what's right and what's wrong. And it's an
Absolutely.
amazing thing. And it's a courageous thing to show up every week and be honest and be open with your brothers and not have fear of being judged. That is a
Yeah,
beautiful thing.
absolutely. So you said, speaking of, marriage is not working, like, so I'm back on the dating scene. I talked about this in the podcast on confidence, where I had said that, it's confident to know when things aren't working out. And I've been on so many dates in the past 2, 3 weeks. I've been on, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like an Olympic dating episode, where I was like, I'm going to get as many dates as I can and figure out something's going to pan out. And
Yeah.
none of them have panned out. Some of these women have been beautiful, some of them not so beautiful, some of them intelligent, some of them not intelligent. They all have their own qualities that were amazing, but none of them panned out. And it took
Yeah.
courage for me to not push something that was not meant to be. I could have said something to, I don't know, make them think differently, or I could have just thought differently than what I normally think to make that happen. But I was like, you know what, this is not for me, and I'm not for them, and moving forward. And that
Yeah.
takes a lot of courage. I spent a lot of time actually in the past 2 to 3 weeks on several dates. So yeah,
But it takes courage too to get back up on that horse and
yeah,
say, it's okay. This didn't pan out. It's all right. I'm not going to give up. It's not that there's something wrong with you. Having the courage to say it's not that there's something wrong with me, or
mhm,
having the courage to say, okay, well, maybe I look within. Is there something I'm doing wrong? Is there something that I could be approaching different? But I think most of the time, most of us come to realize when you've really done men's work and you really have values and boundaries and a solid foundation, you're at a point where you know it's not you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just the situation is just not meant to be. And
Hmm.
it is a very courageous and healthy thing to be able to walk away like that.
Yeah. So, is there a time where fear almost stopped you from doing something that you wanted to do, despite knowing that the outcome could be good? Is there anything that anytime that fear stopped you?
Huh. Yeah. I think the last couple of years of, my marriage, without a doubt, I think, there's no question about it. I knew in my mind that I don't necessarily want to say that the marriage had run its course,
Hmm.
but I think that we were at a point where we were just going in different directions and we wanted different things. And that's
Okay.
okay, you know, but as adults, it takes courage to look at one another and say, it seems that we're set out on different paths. Is
Hmm.
there something that we can do to make this work, or is there not? I think I knew for years that there was nothing that I could do or she could do that was going to change it. And I let fear hold me back. I didn't
Fear
have
of
the
what?
courage. I think fear of maybe I don't want to say fear of being lonely, but I think just fear of the unknown.
Okay.
Fear of being, like that was 15 years of my life. What is it going to look like being by myself? What is it going to look like to be a single man, to be a single parent, to survive off of one income, to take care of a house on my own? And for me personally, what was it going to look like for me on a medical aspect? Where was I going to get help to get to and from doctors and my surgeries and stuff like that? But I don't think that's the real points that really fit in. I think like I said, it was the beginning aspects that really fill in.
Hmm.
I think that
So, go ahead. I'm sorry. Well,
what were your biggest fears in those
that
moments?
was so long ago. I don't know. One
Mm.
thing you did say before I go further is
Yeah.
one of the most courageous things I've done. You said fear of being lonely, and I think a lot of myself included. That was one of my biggest fears with my divorce. Fear of being lonely. But if you learn to love yourself, you won't be lonely. You may be alone, but not lonely. And there's a huge difference. And it sounded so stupid to me in the beginning, but I was told that I need to go out to dinner by myself, go to a movie by myself. I don't go to the movies, but I would go to dinner by myself on a regular, and I still do to this day. And there's something magical about getting a table for one and enjoying your food, your meal, the experience, everything about it, and not worrying about anybody else. And that's because I truly found me and I love me and I'm okay with me. So there are many nights that I am alone, but I am never lonely. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's amazing. Daisy, I think it's amazing. I remember when you told me that, it was suggested that you went out to dinner on your own. And I remember thinking to myself in that moment, like, what a weird concept to go out, by myself.
Hmm.
What would that even look like? But then as I thought about it, I'm like, it takes a lot of courage to actually go to a restaurant and sit down and be comfortable by yourself. That's an amazing thing. To love yourself enough to take yourself out,
Hmm.
that's great.
Yep.
That's great.
And I'm not talking Applebee's and Outback. I'm talking like a fancy restaurant where you're not there to impress anybody. You can get the best glass of wine or the best beer. I'm a beer guy. The
Mhm.
best entree, and you're not doing it to impress the person across from you. You're doing it
Right.
because this is what you want to try,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
that is
hey,
it's
you got
liberating.
one bill. You got just one
Ex-
bill.
exactly. You don't have to. If the bill's too high, it's your own damn fault.
That's it. That's it.
But I think for me, one of the most courageous things that I've done in my life or recently is getting back into religion. I walked away from the church after my divorce, and I carried a lot of disappointment and anger, and had a ton of unanswered questions. But eventually, faith started calling me back. I was on the top of Redemption Rock, and I heard God or Jesus, somebody calling me. I don't know. Hmm.
Mm.
But that decision to go back to church or to get back into religion was courageous. And with my mom falling ill and eventually dying, it was even harder for me. and I'm actually taking a new turn into religion. I haven't fallen away from God at all, but I'm second guessing organized religion, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
you know, so courage for me, it wasn't, there was a huge fear with losing my mom. There's a huge fear with understanding what's going on in my religion, but it's moving forward and discovering what there is ahead for me, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. You're not allowing the fear of the unknown,
Right.
right? So you have some fears of religion, and obviously, losing mom. There's been a lot of changes in your life, but
Ton of changes.
you're not letting fear stop you from being the man that is full of courage and that
Yes.
does keep pushing on.
And,
And
it's
that's a beautiful thing.
I've had every opportunity and every excuse to allow fear to stop me. And I don't think anybody, including you or anybody in the men's group, would have questioned me because they know what I've been through. And they would have said, it's okay, take a break. But if I truly allowed fear to stop me with everything going on in my life, I would not be able to move forward or continue on the path that I'm on. I would have
Yeah.
been dead in my tracks for too long.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And it'd
like
be a terrible
you just
thing.
got to move. You got to go. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's dark. Sometimes it's scary, but you have to just keep moving.
Yeah.
Life. I think Ferris Bueller said, what did he say? Life moves fast. If you don't stop and look, you'll miss it. So if you stop because you're afraid, you will miss it all. So keep fucking moving.
That's right. You got to
So
kick ass and take names.
there
If
you
you
go.
don't, you're gonna fall. You're gonna
Yeah.
fall hard. You
Yes.
don't have the fear of going to the gym. Don't be afraid to go to the gym because the other guys that have been there longer than you and they have bigger muscles than you.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to walk up to another man if the gym route's the way you want to go and say to another man, hey, do you know anybody that could help me? Working out or teach me, how to be on track or eat better, don't be afraid of it. If it's
Yeah.
dating, don't be afraid to ask another man, hey, how do you do it? How do you get by? Don't be afraid of those things because when you let fear control your life and you don't have the courage to keep kicking ass and keep moving, then
Hmm.
one of these days you're going to blink your eyes and you'll be sitting on a couch back there just like that. And 50
Yep.
years will have gone by.
Yes,
And
sir.
guess what? You've had no fucking life. You've just been miserable.
And 50 years will go by for everybody, no matter what.
That's
So it's
it.
your choice to take those 50 years and do something, or take those 50 years and sit on the couch and be miserable, living in fear of what might go wrong, but
Yeah,
not thinking
seriously.
about what will go right. So that's actually
100%.
the biggest part of this whole podcast episode, I think. Stop fearing what might go wrong and embrace what will go right.
Yeah,
Things will go wrong. That's a guarantee. Things will go wrong.
yeah,
It's how you adapt to them, how you overcome them, and how you move forward.
that's right.
So,
There's nothing you can do to make everything in life, go the way you want to go. You
mhm,
know, you can, no matter how courageous you are, you're still going to have times that you're going to lose. You're still going to have times with disappointment. There's no doubt about it.
mhm,
It's just the truth, but that's okay. It's life. Have the courage to get back up on the horse and just start over.
mhm.
Don't be afraid and just lie down and what? Give up?
Right. So, speaking of lying down and giving up, why do you think that a lot of men confuse vulnerability with weakness?
I think a lot of it is just the way that a lot of guys are taught. I think that, especially the men in our age group, we're taught that like men are just supposed to keep pushing, not supposed to talk about, what brings us down, what hurt, what aches, it doesn't matter. We're just told to, keep our mouth shut and keep moving. Most of us had dads that kicked our ass. The ones that didn't just didn't have real, have dads around for the most part. Some of us got lucky, but um, I think I think because of that, it really gave men the wrong idea that like courage was, being courageous and being tough was just like, bottling it all up and holding it all inside. And it's just, I mean, it's so wrong, but I don't know. It kind of blows my mind sometimes why men think that being open and, you know, having the courage to talk to other men and be open and be vulnerable. It blows my mind why men think that that's such weakness,
Hmm.
because they do. And you're right. I
I
don't
think
know.
it's just how we were raised, I guess. I don't know. I know at one point I thought of it as weakness, but I've embraced what it
Mhm.
is, and I will ask for help whenever I need it. I think the biggest takeaway from this part right here is like vulnerability without responsibility. That can become emotional dumping. So if you become too vulnerable and you're not responsible with what you're sharing, then uh, it's too much for whoever you're talking to. It takes
Mm.
ownership of whatever comes next.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be cautious because brotherhood or not, if you emotionally dump on people, it's like I'm sure some people out there that are listening to this have heard of
Mhm,
like an energy vampire. It you just drain the life out of another individual. And no matter how much love or care you have for another person, if you just suck the life out of somebody or just completely emotionally dump on somebody, you're going to destroy them. And that's
mhm,
what a lot of men do. Crazy enough, a lot of those big masculine men that keep everything inside, that's what they do to their wives. They emotionally dump on their wives, behind closed doors when the kids aren't around, and it drives their wives crazy until their wives are just done with it.
hmm,
There are some that don't do it, but I think I've met a good majority of men at this point, myself included, that hit a certain point in life and ended up emotionally dumping behind closed doors on their significant other.
mhm,
And it's not, unfortunately, it's not even because you're actually open to accepting that you don't always have to be this big tough guy or this masculine man.
mhm,
It's like you see it as like this safe space that you can just have these conversations with a woman like that and just break them. You break them down. You're supposed to be the protector and the person that's there, not the other way around. Now, don't get me
right,
wrong, your wife should be there and she should hear you, but you shouldn't be dumping an emotional load on your wife ever.
right.
That's what you should have a brotherhood for.
And that's we've talked about that many times in the brotherhood. That's what we are there for. You can dump on me anything you want, and I will tell you you're being a bitch, or
Yeah.
I'll tell you whatever, but I will also help you through it. And then
Mhm.
when you go to your wife or your girlfriend or whoever, you're not going with all of that baggage. You're going with the pieces that need work, that need her attention, not everything,
No,
not all the bullshit.
right.
So, and we say
Exactly.
that all the time. We've actually had a lot of pushback from a lot of men where their wife is their ride or die or their best friend. But you don't want to, in my opinion, you do not want to ride or die with someone who emotionally dumps all over you. That's like some vomits all over you while you're riding on the back of a motorcycle. That's disgusting. Get the hell off. So yeah, you want to dump it on the guys. You want to bring it to the guys, bring it to the men's group and sort it out there and then bring the grounded issue to your significant other.
It's balance, right? It's like
Yeah,
anything
it's
else. There
absolutely
has
it
to
is
be
balance.
balance.
Yes.
If you just dump on her like that, and yes, I've heard the same statements, of a lot
Mhm,
of guys that don't agree, that ride or die aspect. And, we tell each other everything and we're there for each other. There's one thing, it's okay to have an open relationship where you tell each other everything. There's
mhm,
a big difference between doing that and emotionally dumping on somebody.
right.
And I understand if you have a really bad day, it's okay to come home and tell your wife, I had a really bad day today, and I really need my significant other right now. Like, that's okay. But you know what? Just have her in your presence.
Mhm,
If
absolutely.
she's your ride or die, then you don't need to say a word. You just need a good hug. Maybe you just need to lie there with her. But don't dump the world on her. And don't dump all the bullshit from your day on her. Don't do it.
Absolutely.
Keep the
Absolutely.
balance, come in the brotherhood, have the courage to talk to other men about your shit, but not your significant other before you end up in the brotherhood for a different reason because you're going through a divorce.
Mhm,
So
yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is how do you build courage? And I did a little bit of homework on this, so I have notes in front of me for this one part. So there's 7 steps, in my opinion, to build courage. So let me know if you disagree or agree with these or whatnot. But number one is you want to name whatever it is that you are afraid of. And
Okay.
then you want to
Yeah.
identify the value that's being tested in your life.
Yeah.
Then you need to separate the actual danger from the emotional discomfort, because there's a huge difference between danger and emotional discomfort. They might feel the same,
100%.
but they're major difference. Decide what the courageous action would be to move forward. And then what is that first small step that you're going to take? The first, let me change actually, the first honest step that you're going to take. And then you need to accept that courage does not guarantee the outcome that you want. And there are no guarantees to any outcome. There's an outcome that you can see that you want. It's a goal, but there's no guarantees in life at all. And then you want to reflect on the action and repeat the process. Do you agree with that or disagree? Or
Yeah.
is anything
No,
I'm missing in there?
I honestly, I absolutely agree.
Okay.
I like that a lot. I like the way you put it in order too. I
Well,
really
I did that
agree.
because the homework that I did was so. I think the most courageous thing that I've done as far as building courage was what we're doing right here, building
Yeah.
Northman Coaching. I mentioned this in the last podcast. I was afraid. My fear was that I would fail. My fear was that people wouldn't take me seriously, or they wouldn't join the brotherhood, or they wouldn't hire me as a coach because I had hired a coach to get me through hard times, and I thought that I could just be like them. And I haven't always. Obviously, when I started off, I wasn't the best coach. I was good, but I've gotten better as time goes by. But my biggest fear was that people wouldn't take me seriously. Then I look at the value. What value is being tested if I'm afraid of this? And the value for this was purpose. The purpose, my purpose behind this was that I believe my experiences could help rebuild another man. And then for what was the last one? Discomfort versus danger. I had starting the brotherhood. There was a risk, and in the beginning, I was a little embarrassed because if you think about the brotherhood when it first started, it was Rob and I and Parish and you. It was 4 people.
Mm.
So there was, I had that. It was a little embarrassing. It's only 4 people, but we had solid conversations every week, and it
You
grew.
sure did.
And I knew as it grew that people would criticize the work, criticize what I said, and they did. There was rejection. Some people rejected things I said. There was definitely disappointment, but overall, it has grown. And now on our Thursday night meetings, we have between 12 and 14 men in there. It's
Yeah.
really it's an amazing thing. So to separate that danger from discomfort and ride it through, you will see that amazing things can happen. I think the biggest courageous action that I took in the whole thing was not waiting to be completely qualified for this. I did take my classes on coaching. Did I need them? Absolutely not. I learned some rules that I can and cannot do, but as far as coaching, that's all my experiences in life. So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to just stop waiting to be qualified and just fucking do it. I think my small honest step was probably starting the podcast. And after doing the podcast with Rob and then eventually going live, like that was the biggest honest step right there, going live and feeling that pressure. But going back to recording now because live is a ton of pressure and you get better quality out of recording, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's whatever. And I had to release, control over the outcome. I could not control how quickly or how slowly Northman Coaching Group. I could not control how many downloads or streams we would have on the podcast. I can't control anything. To this day, I still can't control it. Our downloads are up, our streams are up. Clientele is down a little bit from 3 months ago, but it's summertime and that's normal, but still not in my control. And it just
Yeah.
takes that extra courage to bear with it, knowing it will pick back up. And
Yeah.
then the last but not least was reflect and repeat. So I just keep doing the podcast. And it really reflect and repeat is all about consistency. I'm repeating what's worked so far, not repeating what hasn't worked, but being aware of what's working and what's not. So I don't know if that made sense to anybody except for me, but those are the steps that I took to be courageous in building this world that I have right here.
I mean, that's an amazing way, in my eyes, to break it down. It really is. Like I couldn't have said it better myself for breaking down the steps. To staying actually courageous and having the courage to push on. You know, I've had the conversation with all of my kids. You know, if you're afraid to take a step or you're afraid to invest in something, you know, you're going to lose 100% of the time. That's always going to be the case. You've
It's
got
only if
to
you let
have
fear override you. It's good to be
right,
afraid. Be afraid, but move.
right, yeah, but move right because if you don't have the courage to take those steps. And you don't have the courage to stay on path with yourself. Then you're never going to be successful at anything that you do. And even when it comes to on the darker side of things, even when it comes to something like my situation with my accident and losing
Mhm,
my arm and the situation with my leg and and being months now of barely being able to walk. If I don't have the courage to stand up and say, I'm not gonna let the fear of what could go wrong hold me back from taking steps,
mhm,
then I'm going to stay stuck. Now, yes, I do have to have some fear because I need to be smart. I can't do something that's going to wind me up in the hospital or land me on that couch back there or in a worse circumstance that I am. But if I let the fear hold me back and I don't have the courage to try to keep taking small steps to live more, to achieve being able to go for walks. They might be small walks, but there's something. And
mhm.
the more that I have the courage to stick with it, then the more that I'm going to get for positivity out of my own life, the happier I'm going to be at the end of the day. Because I could easily say, all right, I lost my arm. I'm in so much pain. I can barely function. I don't sleep. My legs not working. I could do all of it. I could complain until I'm blue in the face.
Mhm.
That's not going to get me anywhere. I want to be known for having the courage to say, you know what? These things are true. And I do need help with certain things. And I'm not afraid to ask for that. But I also am not afraid to have the courage to keep trying and keep pushing. So no matter who you are out there, no matter how bad your circumstances, whether it's a relationship, it's a divorce, it's going through difficulty, trying to see your children, get your children, find work, or you're in a situation where you've lost limbs like me,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. Have the courage to accept the newfound aspects and new perimeters that there might be to your life. Have the courage to get off your ass and keep pushing. And if you can't get off your ass, have the courage to figure out how you're going to be happy right there on that couch.
Amen to that. Absolutely.
Oh,
Beautifully
I
said.
think that it's the most important thing about courage, no matter what your circumstances. I've heard so many people say to me that it's easier said than done. And I've probably said it many times to people myself. It's much easier for you to say something like, just go take a walk, AJ,
Mhm.
than it is for you to understand what taking that walk means to me. But I've been through divorce. I've been through losing my children. I've been through fighting for my children, fighting for my children. I've been through being a single father and raising my children. I've been through loss of limbs. I've been through mental health issues. I've been through plenty to be able to sit here with the courage to tell the world on every platform that we stream on that that is okay and
Mhm.
you can still live. Just have the courage to keep trying.
Absolutely. And I'm right there with you with it going through divorce and fighting for your kids and fighting for a lot of things. But one thing that's important to make clear is that that doesn't make us any better than a man who is just fighting to figure his life out. Every fight is a battle that is significant. So, and that's where the brotherhood comes in. So if you are fighting a little battle that looks little to us but is huge to you, check out the brotherhood, man. We are here 4 meetings a week to help you through whatever battle life is throwing at you. So go to northmancoaching.com and click join the brotherhood, get your first 7 days for free. Man, join us, dude. We will walk you through any battle that comes your way. Any battle. You got 2 battles, we'll go through both of them. Let's go. Let's get it done. I love battles. My favorite.
That's right. We're there to hold each other up, and at the end of the day, Gary's right, there's no difference between me and you
Mhm.
because we've all been there, and it doesn't matter how big the battle is, we've all battled all throughout our entire lives. And we're there to be there to hold one another up
Yep.
and trust and believe that regardless of what your battle is, something that you have to say is going to help another man. Every single group, something you say is going to help one man in that group somehow, some way. You may not know it. You may never know what it was or who it helped, but trust and believe it resonates with other men. When you're there for one another, it resonates. Really check out Northman Coaching. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Northman Coaching. And I have the courage to say that. I'm not afraid to say that because I've worked through those things. But there's nothing wrong with being afraid to say it. Just have the courage to try
Yep.
because all you have to do is go to Northman Coaching, go up to that resources tab on the top right, and click join the brother. You get 7 days for free. This isn't, this isn't your normal meeting where you have no choice but to come in and introduce yourself and tell people, your story. If you want to come in and just listen, come in and just listen. We're not going to make anybody talk. We're there if you want to talk. We're there to help who's ready to put what they need help with out there.
Yep. You
Have the
said
courage and just try.
you've been through the battles already, but remember that not just you, but myself included, I still go through battles to this day.
Oh, every day.
Every battle it gets easier as time goes on because now I can handle battles. But the only true way to win that battle is to be with your brother or your brothers, shoulder to shoulder, brick by brick, battle together. Because a man rolling solo is not going to win that battle. And if he does, he's lucky. He's got his brothers in arms. He's going to win that battle.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Every day is a battle. No, I don't think there's anybody out there, and I think they're full of shit if they try to tell you otherwise. Everybody's got a battle.
mhm,
One way or another, there's a battle in every man's life every day. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big, but they
yep,
exist for all of us every day. And that's why it is a beautiful thing that we have our 4 meetings
yeah,
because we get to come in and we get to pan out the whole week with one another. And it's great. You have the chance to actually set yourself up properly before your week even starts, and have your brothers to hold you accountable. But regardless, outside of that, you get to the end of the week and you see where you've gone and how you've gotten there and, what you do need to be more accountable for or what you do need to change. You also have your brothers, all of those meetings. So if something's going on, we're there.
mhm,
Just like
absolutely,
everybody's there for us, just the same.
absolutely.
It's no different for us than anyone else.
I couldn't have said it better myself, brother. So before we close this out, I want to say that if you guys looking for a good podcast, our good friends and brother Joel Rosario and his wife Glow have a podcast called Sessions and Lessons Life Unscripted. And that is on every major podcast platform. They release episodes every Sunday and Wednesday. So check them out, guys. They're pretty awesome. And Joel has a book out. It's called May December End, The Ballad of Joey Flowers. He wrote that last year. It's like a memoir, self-help book. It was the best read of last year for me. So check that book out. And last but not least, his wife Glow has a podcast on that comes out every Friday called Glowing Off Script. So check her out, guys. Check them both out. Check out the book. Check out the Brotherhood. Check it all out, guys. Uh, yeah. So I guess in
So,
closing, courage does not mean that you know everything, or no doesn't mean you know everything will work out. It means that you have decided that living in fear costs you more than taking a risk. The goal is not to become fearless. The goal is to become a man whose values are stronger than his fear. Yeah. Value that
hey,
is
man.
yes. Yes. I'm trying to figure out how to say that really because,
Yep.
when I first started this whole journey, part of it was values. And we don't talk about it a lot anymore, but the oak value cards that I made, I had to
Yeah.
discover my values. And my values are definitely stronger than any fear that I could ever have. So if you don't know your values,
Mhm.
guys, look into that. Google them. Check out, whatever common core values. Learn your values. It's really, really, really fucking important.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, anything else, brother?
No, no, I just to end on the values aspect, I will say learning what my values were, especially, when I had falls and I had fears, it really helped me to pick myself up. It helped me to see myself through, to take something and say, you know what, this is what I stand for. And I'm gonna make sure that I follow this through and that I get this under control because the faster I get this under control, the faster I'm going to have the courage to keep pushing forward.
Mm.
And yeah, with that, Carrie's right. We don't talk enough about the oak value cards anymore, but the oak values are a lot of what we live by. I mean, me and Gary live 7 days a week by our values, and every man should strive to find his values and live by 'em.
I think
So,
every man in that group lives by their values. I don't
yeah,
question that one bit. So,
yeah.
but that's
Guys,
because we
have
push
the
each other to do that.
courage. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Because we do, because we have the courage to go in there and be open and honest with one another.
mhm,
So we're able to be there to hold one another accountable to each other's values.
yes,
So,
absolutely.
guys, have the courage to come and check it out. And if you don't, find our brotherhood. Find
Yeah.
our brotherhood.
There's
And,
many,
and
many brotherhoods out there. So if you don't come to us, go somewhere. Find a band of brothers, find men to talk to hold you up that you can hold up.
100%.
So,
Well, with that, check us out. I go live, not live, but I'm on every morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the
mhm,
morning with a devotional. And Gary is on every Tuesday and Thursday morning. Guys, go on and check us out. We're on every major platform on Northman Coaching. It's not a podcast like this. They're quick, they're under 5 minutes. Come and check us out, though. Outside of that, yeah, I guess I don't have anything more on it.
okay. I don't. The only thing I have is keep your eyes out. I got a little side project going. Big things are coming with Northman Coaching and the Brotherhood. So keep your eyes peeled for big things coming next month, guys. Hopefully, that's the goal. Next month. Don't ask me any questions. And that's it. You guys have a wonderful day, night, wherever it is that you are tuning in from. And yeah,
So,
we'll see you next week.
so you guys have a great morning, noon, and night.
Yes, whatever it might be for you. All right. Have a good one, guys.